Ahilya School of Engineering College, Palakkad.
Where is Palakkad? Okay, okay. And what do you teach?
Electrical.
Nice. Okay. I'm an electronics and communications guy. So, Dr. Ksaswamy, what do you do? You also a professor?
Yeah, yeah. I am an academician from industry.
Oh, okay.
Like you.
Yeah.
And I was with ISRO. Then I was
Nice.
with TCS. ISRO a decade, and TCS more than 3 decades.
Wow. Okay.
And after an accepted career, now I have taken the break. Now I am doing only volunteer service like supporting IEEE, PMI, Project Management Institute of India. The PMI has a India branch.
Right.
There is PMI Academic Advisory Group.
Right.
IIIT, Ranchi, Senate, I am there, like that.
Wow.
Something academics.
Were you at the TCS in?
I was heading TCS Trivandrum.
I remember. You remember Tech Top?
Yeah. And I was heading their initial learning program.
I know, but do you remember Tech Top, the competition that was going on long back at the Techno Park?
Sorry, can you repeat that if you don't mind?
Tech Top.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I remember meeting you.
Yeah.
When I used to run that from 2006,
Yeah.
and then we moved it to Techno. That's why I know the face, I know the name, but I was trying to place your.
Yeah, I also have to say something about you that I have reserved for the Thanksgiving session.
Nice. So I'm so glad to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So are you in Trivandrum still?
I recently moved from Trivandrum to Bangalore. Before joining TCS, I was in ISRO Bangalore, not VSS in Trivandrum.
Okay.
So I came back to Bangalore.
Okay. Yeah.
Still, I have the house at Trivandrum. Kerala is dear to my heart. That's why I continue to be IEEE Education Society.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So I think, do we have enough people or do we start? So take away whoever is organizing. Yeah.
Anjal, can we start, Anjal?
Ma'am, we can start at 7:05. Let's wait for 2 minutes.
This is the 5 minute. Okay, good. So at MIT we had this thing where the class starts 5 minutes after the hour and it stops 5 minutes before the hour.
Okay.
So you have time to go from one class to the other. So all the classes are on the hour.
I think people are joining.
Yeah.
Maybe another minute we will give.
No problem at all.
Because I view your session is very important. That this is an important career option not touched by many people.
Yes.
Listening to you is important.
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, I hope there are more folks from universities and colleges here. I'm not talking about students,
Yeah. Yes.
Faculty and administrators, because the whole way to transform, I'll be talking about all these things, a whole way to transform colleges through
creating. You are right. That is the right way to scale up things, right? One Rajesh Nair cannot reach out to everybody.
Yeah.
Through these professors, we should reach out to more people, right? That's true.
Yeah. So that's what we'll touch on.
Some of these kids are, Rajesh, I have interacted with some of these kids in IEEE Kerala section. They are all very committed and intelligent kids. They will take the message forward.
Yeah. So I'll be talking about the what stops one from actually taking this path and how do we solve that, and then we can go into the analysis. Yeah. Okay.
Now
go ahead and start.
Please initiate.
Yeah.
Sir, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, you are very much.
Okay. Good evening to one and all present here today. Steve Jobs once rightly said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." Creating something that you love doing the most in a way that makes the world a better place to live in is one of the major factors that makes a successful entrepreneur. This evening, for the fifth episode of ProTalks by the IEEE Education Society Kerala chapter, we are honored to have with us today Professor Rajesh Nair, founder of 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚 Labs. Within the past few years, Professor Rajesh has been on a constant mission to nurture and transform 1 million children and youth from underprivileged communities into successful innovators and entrepreneurs. He has been a professor of practice in innovation and entrepreneurship at the Asia School of Business, started by MIT Sloan in Kuala Lumpur. He was also one of the founding faculties of ASB and served at MIT as a visiting scholar and Tata Fellow. Through his paper publications and patents from 1996, his works have been focused on conducting workshops and creating a platform for one to become a successful entrepreneur for the past 9 years. It is our esteemed honor to have him with us to share his insights today on creating 1 million entrepreneurs. Welcome, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hannah, can you hear me? Everyone hear me?
Yes. Sir,
Okay.
we have a slight welcome address.
Okay.
And for the same, I would like to welcome Dr. Lisha Paul, Chair of IEEE Education Society Kerala chapter, to deliver the welcoming address.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to one and all. Respected today's expert talk, Professor Rajesh sir, founder, CEO of 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚 Labs, 𝐿𝐿 advisor, 𝐂𝐲𝐿 sir, and all 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚 members and student coordinators and dear participants. It is with great pleasure I welcome you all to this webinar, creating 1 million entrepreneurs in today's session. So entrepreneurs is the backbone of any thriving economy, and entrepreneurs are the visionaries who transform the innovative ideas into successful business, driving economic growth, creating jobs and fostering innovation. In today's rapidly changing world, the role of entrepreneurs is more significant than ever. Expert talk of today's section, Professor Rajesh sir trained as product design with 30 years of industry experience in developing more than 100 products and 25 years experience in starting and running 4 profit startups and non-profit organization, and currently creating research-based pedagogy to develop innovators and entrepreneurs in untapped communities. So on behalf of 𝐻𝐫 Kerala chapter, I welcome you, sir, to this webinar, and I also welcome all the participants to this seminar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it is time to invite the esteemed guest of the hour, Professor Rajesh Nair, to deliver his thoughts to our August gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. So good evening, and I want to tell you a little story. I was born and brought up in Chirangir. I'm right now in Chirangir in Kerala, and this was long back. So when I was a kid, the only technology we had at home was a transistor radio. So as a 10, 11-year-old kid, you used to wonder how a transistor radio works. So you can create hypotheses in your mind only based on the knowledge you have. And I did not know anything about radio waves. So my only hypothesis I had was there must be little people living in the radio. They'd start singing when I turn it on, and they sing louder when they turn the volume up and things like that. So there was no other thing I could think of till the radio died. And I had to take it to a local repair guy, and he showed me what was inside the radio. And that was a complete it was very different from what I had imagined. So this is where, that was the first exposure to resistors and all these volume controllers and the needle that moves with. Of course, you guys won't recognize it because you don't have all those things in your radio now, because it's your phone is your radio. Long back, it was, we had knobs which will move, threads which will move, and needle which will go on a panel, and all these kind of things. It was a fantastic mechanical assembly that used to happen long back. But interestingly, he taught me how to make a crystal radio. And then I went back to school. I studied in Sainik school. So I went to and started making my little radio. And you need to have a high impedance speaker with a germanium diode, and you can actually, without battery, you can listen to the local AM station, amplitude regulated station. So, and then of course I need to have more speakers, because I wanted to make more of these. And the only speaker that we could find high impedance was the ones in the old phones. So I used to go open up the headset and steal the little speaker and close it back, and then make my radio with that, So several phones which they didn't know what was wrong with, I'm sure, over time. So, and that led me to create other things. And as a teenager, I used to make all those things. Then I studied physics. I went to Indian Institute of Science to study electronics and communication. I did my bachelor's. Then as a gadget designer, I did my master's also there at Indian Institute of Science in electronic product design. So once you start to design the product, you realize that you don't know how to manufacture it. So I went to University of Massachusetts to study mechanical and manufacturing engineering. This was some 37 years back. Okay, and so complete change in what I was learning. I was learning complete machining and things like that after doing electronics and transistors and all those things. Then joined a company, started designing products, designed over 100 products for all kinds of companies. I was involved in the first MacBook Air, iPad, Mini, and a part of my company used to design all these kind of things for them, CT scanners and such. So started companies, manufacturing companies, got bored with all those things, and went to study again. I went to MIT, and there my study was primarily in systems design. So just to touch on that topic, systems design, an engineer learns how to create things. And if you can zoom out, you start to see how these things connect to systems and what are systems, and we can actually have a whole discussion on that later. And I got a fellowship from Mr. Ratan Tata at that time. So he paid for my whole education. And his ask was to see, how do you create a change in the third world developing countries, where you can go make a big difference in those countries and go figure it out. So that became my thesis. So I came back and I suggested that, if you can create entrepreneurs in these countries, in these communities, it can transform the regions, societies, communities, and even countries. And I took that up as my thesis for research at MIT. And I went to my advisor at Sloan and said, this is what I want to do. And they said, how can you create entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs are like, they're born that way. I said, no, they can be trained. I believe they can be trained. So he said, you came from a community, lower middle class family, in the rural part of India. How did you get here? And can you track your path? And so I started thinking about what changed in me, what were the experiences I got, what changed in me, and what were the stages of development, and can you create experiments to test it out, so that if you did these kind of things, that kind of responses will happen. And so that became my thesis. So after the thesis was over, MIT was starting a new business school. So I was the third person to first three people to go there and start the business school in Kuala Lumpur from scratch. And I was teaching there for 6 years, and then I came back to the US and I started 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚 Labs as a company that trains future entrepreneurs. So it is a whole circle. Now I currently work with primarily developing countries, underserved communities to make this kind of a change. So why I said the whole thing is that, it is currently I'm working with the whole idea of, can you nurture innovators and entrepreneurs? And I really truly want to, this is my current life mission, to create 1 million innovators and entrepreneurs in the most underserved communities. Of course, it's based on my research at MIT and at Asia School of Business. Okay. So first question is, let me go into, okay. The first question is, are entrepreneurs born or made? Okay, there is a lot of discussion on this. Some believe that entrepreneurs are some special God-given talent which some people are born with. It is not true. Okay. Interestingly, every one of us is born with that entrepreneur in us. There is a dormant entrepreneur in all of us. Most of us go through our life without awakening it. And so what happens is that we go through, because of society and our fears that we have built up, we go through that. Some collect enough courage to aspire to be one, and then a smaller number maybe go out and do the first startup in life, and some people just go out and do multiple startups. So current entrepreneurship programs that you see anywhere, even in your college or anywhere else, what you see is that they start with people who say they want to start a company, or I have an idea, or I know something, those who have started aspiring to be one. Interestingly, that's only about 3% of the population. So all our effort right now in all the incubators and accelerators and everything else is spent on the 3%, while we are missing out on the 97% with the exact same innate potential and talent that we completely miss out. And if we can make that change in the larger population in the world, you can transform a country from scratch. And you can transform a university or even an engineering college from the bottom up. Okay. So my point is to see, how do we create what I call these pre-entrepreneurs. Pre-entrepreneurs are the ones who have the skill sets and mindset and the confidence and aspiration. And most often, your first startup will fail. That's because you are just about learning how to be an entrepreneur on the first startup. But what if we can train them ahead of time on what it takes in skill sets and mindset? So your first startup will have a much better chance of survival. Today, it's about 97% is your failure rate for startup. And that is all over the world. That's because you're learning to walk. Okay. And that is the first step. And you need to kind of, how do you teach them to all these things ahead of time is the question. So the process primarily starts with the 97%, the zeros, the uninitiated students. And the first step of transformation is to make them into makers. Makers are the ones who can learn new things beyond their current competence. Build their curiosity, build creativity, confidence, all the self-learning skills, etc. So I used to go run these programs for children all over the world. So this is for 11th or 10th or 11th or 12th standard students. In 2 days, they learn mechanical design, electronics basics, coding, and they have to make a 3D printing, of course, all those kind of things. And they have to make a working prototype, a stand-up presentation, and a movie by end of second day. So this team was making a baby cradle. When you put the baby in the cradle, it automatically senses and rocks the baby. It does not solve any world problems, but it is actually interesting to connect all these mechanical, electrical, coding, fabrication, all these kind of things together. And this is called a useless box. You turn it on, it will turn itself off. Again, it's completely useless, but it is an engineering product that you have to create. Or these are 13 and 15-year-old children. In Malaysia, in second day, they were making a messaging wand, which, with a strip of LEDs, or sixth graders in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, creating a robot and, goalpost that scores goals and such. So when you look at all of them, you wonder what is so different about them? And the answer is nothing. They just got exposed to things that they normally would not get exposed to in school. And that is where they start to learn things outside their competence, and they build that confidence that now I can learn these things. Okay? So, so the next stage of development is to be an innovator. Innovator is somebody, now that you know how to create things, innovator is somebody who needs to go find problems, analyze problems, define the problem, use ideation, critical thinking, problem-solving skills to create solutions. And the next stage is that of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur identifies opportunities and creates value through investing, working, scaling, producing, creates value and such. So they're all systems thinkers. As a system thinker myself, I look at everything as systems. So a maker thinks of the product as a system. All engineers are primarily product system thinkers to start with. They think what are the technology that goes into a product, mechanical, electrical, coding, all these kind of things. And the innovator thinks is in terms of a problem system. What is the problem, who causes, who suffers, what's the pain and value and all these kind of things, so that they can go create a product that solves the problem. And the entrepreneur thinks within the business system. How do you convert the problem into an opportunity? And who's your customer? How do you reach them? How do you extract value, profits, etc.? But current entrepreneurship programs start here. And so you can only reach from some 20-year-olds and up, But if you can start with maker, you can reach them when they are, in school. So I believe you all need to fail. You have too much fear of failure. Okay, so failure is not not hitting something. Failure is not doing something. Okay, not even attempting is the first sign of failure. So you need to go do things and fall flat on your face, because we all did. All of us did that. Okay, and then you analyze your failure and learn from it, and next time you kind of start to fix things. Nobody is going to do your first startup and hit it right. Nobody does that. So while the maker is the creative one, innovator is the problem solver, entrepreneur is the value creator, we want to create ecosystems. Ecosystems in schools and communities and colleges, so that it starts to create all this flow of people coming in as zeros, and go maker, innovator, entrepreneur flow can be created. So we'll talk about ecosystem later. So first I started my research with college students. Dr. Kesosaami Rumbas, I used to run a program called Tech Top, where we used to bring innovation. It was an national innovation competition. I started in 2006, and TCS was supporting us right through. And actually, he has attended many of the final presentations when he was at TCS. So what I found is that by the time you're in college, most of your fears have calcified. College students in school, our schools kind of stops you from thinking creatively, because they try to teach you curriculum after curriculum, and you have an innate learning ability that you're born with. Primarily, the curriculum-based school system cuts and chops off all your creativity, and at some point you start to think, I'm only this, I'm not that. Okay, So when I talk to the college students, they all believe that they cannot do certain things. And I have no idea why. Okay, so I decided I need to start to do this in schools. So I created this program called Zero to Maker. So one of the experiments I did was we created a maker lab in a box. This is a 3D printer, all kinds of electronics, motors, wheels, hand tools, power tools, meters, all kinds of things together. And we made several maker labs in boxes, for my research, and conducted this experiment in rural government schools where they did not have any of these things, just to see how mindset changes in children. So we ran it in 10 rural schools in Malaysia on the border with Thailand, and 7 schools in farming villages around Mysore, in Karnataka. So we brought 6 students and 2 teachers from each school. We created a workshop, gave them the lab, asked them to play with it, take it back to their school, teach each other, come back in 6 months and show what you did. So this is what happened in Malaysia. These are 13 and 14-year-old children. Most of them did not speak English. And their first job was to assemble the 3D printer, which came as a kit. And believe me, most of them had never touched a screwdriver. Okay, so we had to start with how to tighten righty, tighty, lefty, loosey, just so. Then learn 3D CAD, design something like a name tag or a phone stand or headphone spool or something like that, and print it before lunch on day 1. This is only about 3 hours into the workshop. They were printing this. And this was funded by Asian Development Bank and such. So this experiment showed that children had no limiting beliefs in what they can do. Adults, when I tell them the story, they cannot believe that children can do this. It's because of their own fears, not because of anything else. And the experiment in Mysore was still interesting, where these are students from schools that did not have computers. So we had to start the class with, this is a mouse and this is where you type Google. And they picked up 3D CAD. Soon they put together Arduino. They started coding. And I can tell you, they learned it exactly the same way as anywhere else I found kids were learning. Even starting with how to move a mouse in the morning. Okay, by end of day, they were doing all these things. So just to study the contrast, I ran the same experiment in one of the leading private schools in the US. Okay, this is a very, very rich school, where 1 year of high school costs $100,000. Okay, so where students are from very rich families, and what I found is that these children are no different from the children I found in Mysore in their innate abilities. Of course, the exposure that they got in the school puts them on a very different path than the exposure they get in a school in a small village. So we are actually killing their life potential because we don't give them enough exposure. Okay, so I was trying to study what is their learning agility. How do they learn? Curiosity, research ability, self-learning skills. How do they work with each other? Collaboration, communication, leadership, and all those things. How the innovation skills in design, technology, prototyping, creative things, and entrepreneurship attitudes, their self-efficacy, their confidence, agency, resilience, and such. When you look at all these things, we found that there was no difference between children till about mid-teens, and then things start to fall apart, and so we kind of focus on mid-teens and before to see how do we make the change. So when we took data, we found that before and after, there was a huge change. This is before confidence and after confidence. So now you start to see that they all had moved to the right. But then we started taking data and you realize that girls and boys, there was a huge difference in the starting point. Girls start with saying, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm, as smart. This, I believe, is because we start to telegraph this message to a child very early on. We tell girls that maybe boys are smarter. I don't know. But there is no difference in the abilities between the two. And what we saw was that even though girls started in lower confidence at the beginning of the class, boys have a unrealistic confidence, which is based on nothing. They don't know anything, but they think they know more. Okay, it's exactly the opposite. But they both performed the same way after the session was over. So which shows that this confidence can be built. So the next question is, how do we scale it? The scaling can only be done by creating ecosystems in your colleges, in your schools, in your communities. And ecosystems primarily consist of three parts. One is a center where you have things, you have tools, materials, place to talk, books and all these kind of things. All the tinkering labs and making labs and fab labs and all those things. Then we need to have a community of mentors, learners, teachers that can teach each other. And over time, you need to build a culture of innovation. It takes time to build up the culture. I believe Indian government did a great job in creating Atal Tinkering Labs, but they did not do the same thing in creating the community. Okay, and the community is what actually builds the rest of it. At MIT, every 10 years, the whole student body is replaced, but the ecosystem stays. That's because every year the new kid who joins gets their brain rewired by the culture that they're walking into. The students who join MIT are no different from any of the students on the call here right now. I can tell you, MIT doesn't teach anything that is secret there. There's nothing that is taught secret. It is the ecosystem that changes it. If in your college, if you can create an ecosystem, I can guarantee you in the next 10 years, you will have 50 companies coming out every year. Okay, and MIT creates about 500 startups every year. Half of them are started in their hostel rooms, like Dropbox and such, and most of them would fail the first time, and then they go back and do it again, but the culture is what actually supports them in continuing this work. So my first experiment on building ecosystem was done at Mar Basilius College in Trivandrum. I did it in 3 colleges, in India, in Varnanagar, Muzaffarnagar, and Trivandrum. So I took 50 students, and in 2014, and in 2018, I went back to check what happened to these students, and found that these students had created 20 startups in the past 4 years, okay? And the green ones are the ones I taught. The white ones are the ones they brought in. They brought in. So, for example, Madhav started 5 companies, okay? And he started 5 companies, and his 5 companies influenced 11 students. So this magnification factor, where you create this one entrepreneur influences 5 people around them, and those 5 over time start to influence 5 each, become 25 and 100 very, very fast. But that's because you have the ecosystem. And this is a picture from 2014. Out of these 23 kids, 11 of them did their first startup. Out of 50, 24 of them did their first startup. Most of the startups failed, but they went back to do multiple over. And most very interesting thing that happened is that for the first time, most of these kids gathered enough courage that several of them went abroad for higher studies. Okay, that change happened. So, and they created their IEDC and such. This is the principal who said that several of them improved in the direction, they went to foreign universities and such. So when we did the experiment in Muzaffarnagar, I wanted to connect them with the local industry. So the local industry in Muzaffarnagar is sugarcane industry. So I taught them these things, took them out into the sugarcane, into the farms and factories and such. And I asked them to make products for problems they found in the sugarcane industry. Starting with the helmets and bagasse detector, moisture detectors, and sugarcane crystal analyzer. They found they did not have a way to measure the crystal sizes, so they created a thing with a webcam and MATLAB and all these kind of things. And this they created a tool for cutting sugarcane so that the farmer doesn't have to bend down each time and such. Similarly, the ecosystem in school in Malaysia went from 60 students to 150 students in a matter of 9 months. And this the ecosystem in the schools in outside Mysore, they reached 1,000 students in six months, because we took unemployed, underemployed graduates and asked them to be mentors in school. And then they came and started teaching these kids, and over 1,000 students started changing. Some of them are now ready to go into engineering colleges and such. This is the Minister of Education of East Timor, Timor-Leste. This is on the small country on the eastern end of Indonesia. And this is a lab I set up with UNDP, where we brought young adults, taught them these things, took them to the farm and fields to find problems and solve them. And now they're actually teaching school kids to create ecosystem in Dili, in the capital of East Timor. During COVID, I was teaching the same thing at IITs. We could create kits of materials and send it out to students sitting from Arunachal Pradesh to all over, and run these kind of courses. This is in townships in South Africa, towns in poorer communities in the US, Richmond, Manchester, Puerto Rico, places like that. And now my focus is on training girls in schools, in villages. So I go into Vietnam, and I'll be going back again next month. So ran some 120 or so workshops around the world and created these ecosystems from scratch. So this is what I learned. One is, we are leaving behind 95% of the kids in schools because of the education system is not resonating with the child's learning system. Our education system primarily is a teaching system, where the teacher writes on the board and you all have copied it. The teaching is over, but the learning has not started. Okay, and how do you change that? Second is, if you can create an ecosystem, then it will continue growing on its own by encouraging and inspiring the next generation. And the third is, an entrepreneur is not born at 20. It's not created at 20. She can be created at 10 by creating the right kind of attitudes and thinking and the skills that you need, so that they can go through the self-improvement over time. So for this, I created 2 courses called Zero to Maker and Zero to Entrepreneur. For school systems, they create a personal portfolio, and it was approved by Department of Education. And my focus now is to create regional ecosystems, where how can you work with one college, train this course and build them up, and then use the college students to teach in schools around them. Okay, this way, what happens is that you start to create a regional ecosystem. So during the study, I saw this very interesting thing, which if you want to create tech for the tech industry, for the tech workforce, I found that at 10th grade, some of the students kind of drop out and go to trade school. And at 35% of the students at 10th grade want to do STEM, but after they finish the 11th and 12th, it comes down to 20%. It's almost comes down to 40% of the students are lost in STEM subject, and they all go into non-STEM subject. Okay, and this is going to affect your technical workforce in future. So we need to kind of reach children very, very early on and start to transform these amplifiers. So more of the students build their confidence in STEM subjects and go for that. And today, only 15% of the students are going into technical engineering lines. And this is very interesting thing I found. You know, engineering schools today, out of these 7 states, only 60% are occupied. There's, in enrollment, seats are occupied. Out of the 60%, only 82% graduate, of which only 61% get placed. So imagine the kind of talent we are losing because we have not created the right thinking, right talent, skills very early on. And we are doing engineering to get a bank job and all these kind of things. And actually, the technical skills that you learn, if it is not taught properly, you kind of can't become productive. So with that, I will close the talk, and I would like to take any questions that you may have. Anyone? You can just turn on, please.
Yeah, please turn on your cameras if it is not intrusive. Yeah, that's good.
Professor VKD, how are you? Your mic is off.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
VK, your mic is off, sir.
Yeah. It's fine.
So nice to
I've
see
been
you.
listening to your lecture, and of course, we have been working on that
Yes, of course.
tech talk for a number of years together. It is a wonderful experience. And I
Almost
think
going to be 20
you
years.
have passed on a lot of experience from your side through this lecture, not only in India, but in several other developing countries where probably these things were actually caught much faster than even in India, even in Kerala, where we were a small cell working on it. So this probably is the kind of what I would say the society should actually give kind of a weightage or rather appreciation for children who come up with solutions. In fact, we are currently trying in Kerala with the school children and college children to kind of problem solving towards what you call the carbon neutral living. So that's another thing. So here again, what we really want is to tickle the children, and as you have mentioned, let them unlearn all the inhibitions and some of the wrong learnings, and then they will be on their own and they will come out with fantastic ideas. That is what we have seen in many boot camps that you have been organizing. So I think
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I will ask other participants to probably.
Somebody had a question. Someone started
Kind of
asking a question.
Yeah, please.
Who was asking a question?
So we have a question in the chat box from Shah Jahan S. He says, how would I find a good mentor for supporting and guiding me?
So, we, of course, you need to find the technical folks that can help you. Any other question? I want to get more questions. And also, second thing is you become the mentor for the next generation. You have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that you have not recognized yourself. Go start to teach others, and then you realize what is missing in you, because unless you start to teach, you don't know what you know. Try to teach others. Okay, any other question? So we have 84 people on the call here. I see 84. And you guys are all the young future, professionals. And you're all so inhibited in asking a question. Your life, if you're going to be so shy in your life and asking and engaging, people who can speak, people who have build the courage, will take the limelight. They'll take the positions. Will take your ideas. Anyone who presents the idea pretty much owns the idea. So I want you all to break this inhibition and start to talk. Nobody's going to bite you. Ask a question. Don't start to edit. Oh, that would be a stupid question. No, you don't know what a question is till you ask that. Okay, so you should start to ask questions. Yeah.
Hannah, is there any other questions in your
There's no other questions.
box?
No.
None as yet, sir. It's
Okay,
just a
then
one.
what I will do.
Yeah.
What I wanted to. Yeah.
Okay.
Please
You have a
go
question,
ahead.
Ananthan?
Yes, sir.
Sure, go ahead.
How did you get into entrepreneurship? Like, what was your motive? Who was your
Very good.
guide?
So I was born and brought up in Chirangal. Okay, so if my family had the way, I would have become, a government officer. Okay, those are the highest positions we could think of at that point. Okay, so it took me a lot of time to build my courage to build that belief that I think I can do something. Because when I started designing products, I was working for a startup, and it's a small company. My boss used to send me to customers, and I would go talk to customers and come back with the order. And I used to get my normal monthly salary, but my boss was getting all the rest of the money. Okay, at some point I realized I'm actually making more money for him than he's actually making for me. So one fine morning I quit and I said, I'm going to go start a company. And that company miserably failed. But I realized that I got 80% of it right, 20% killed the company. So I went back and started the second one, where I fixed this other part. So this is a learning process. You're going to, when you're learning to ride the bike, you're going to keep falling. But that is okay. You learn from that and keep moving. But first thing is recognize that you have the ability in you. And that requires certain courage to recognize that. It already is there. It is a matter of you recognizing it. It's not that you don't have it. You already have it. Any other questions?
Hello, sir.
Yes, turn on your mic, Jeevan. Camera also. Unless you're so shy. Okay?
Okay. Yes, I am visible now.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, you are.
I'm Jeevan Martin from 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐭𝐢𝐧𝐠, Thrissur. And I am so wondered that which question I should ask to you, because you already told everything about you itself. But speaking as a student, a college student, whether we should concentrate in the academics or whether we should concentrate in what should I say, other or not other aspects, the aspects related to the academics that we can run with the academics. Like you said, to become an entrepreneur, we want to start thinking like I just noted down something like find problems, make the solutions of the problem by ourselves. So we should keep that mind along with our academics. Is it right, sir?
So you're always learning. There is no time when you're not learning. Even at this age, and all of us, it doesn't matter at what age, you are still learning. So your academics primarily, I have mixed feeling about this. So let me tell you what I feel. Academics is something which is basically a chapa. It's like, seal saying you have a B.Tech or BE or B whatever. Okay. but that doesn't get you too far. Okay, a lot of us, million people have the okay. What if you're looking for a job or if you're looking to do a startup? What I would like to see in you is the drive, is the confidence, is the analytical abilities. Okay, given a problem, doesn't matter if you get to the right answer or not. Do you have the ability to break it down and think through and get to synthesize all these things? That ability, and combined with learning abilities. If you're given a problem, can you go do your research online and learn all the things about that you need to learn? If you can build these two things, you can do anything. Okay, so degree, yeah, you finish your degree, but it is not as important as the mindsets that skills and mindsets that you pick up. Okay, so you can put the 3 letters after your name, BTech or something. That is all good. But if you came for an interview to me, and if from the questions I ask, I can gauge. First thing is how you think. How many problems have you solved? How much do you know about yourself? Most of us go through our lives without learning about ourselves. We kind of try to learn about everybody else, what everyone else did wrong and what others think and others feel. But do you know how you think and how do you act? Okay, and these are all things that comes through failures and looking back and through analysis. When you analyze something, it is not just the technical things that you're analyzing. You're also analyzing your own thinking. I have had, when things in my company, when things went bad, I look back and you realize that I was the problem. My thinking was the problem. So I had to go back and change my thinking. Because if I'm too self-conscious or if I react badly to a suggestion somebody gave, that kind of kills that person's inspiration and everything else. So these are kind of things that you learn. For that, you should have tried things and failed enough times. So, yeah, go finish your degree. Don't skip that. It's good to have those 3 letters after that. Okay, but that is not what the real value is in what we have done. Do a lot of projects. Do tons of projects and go learn well beyond. What are you studying? Mechanical or what are you studying?
I'm a computer science student.
Computer science. Go study mechanical. Go study chemical. Yes. Because no product in this world is unique disciplinary. You need to learn everything. Your undergrad degree primarily is a language to think. It doesn't matter how do you model something in static or dynamic state. Now, how do you model a finance major can understand how a finance system works, both in static and dynamic. How do I change interest rates and how cash flow? The same concept is the same as in electrical engineering, in mechanical flow, because you start to, if you learn one language of thinking, you suddenly realize that you can understand other things really fast because you kind of have a mental model of how to think. Okay, so you need to go well outside computer science. Computer science is a given. You have to study because you don't have a choice. Okay,
yes.
But no education is complete without multidisciplinary learning, especially today. Long back you graduate as a mechanical engineer and you retire as a mechanical engineer. You graduate as an accountant, you retire as an accountant. Okay, but no more. If you look at the life of all these people who have done things, some of them have done, philosophy or literature, and they're computer science, bigwigs, because they learned how to learn. That's it.
Yes. Thank you for your response, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else?
So I had a small question,
Sure.
which was the fact that Now, apart from the skill sets that we have, which is multidisciplinary, along with that, now if I start a business, I also need people who can invest in it, and I need to know the art of convincing, which is through communication. So I
Yes.
just wanted your opinion on how important that factor of communication is, because we might have the skill, we have the idea with us, but once you're not able to communicate properly, maybe that acts as an hindrance.
You're
So I wanted
absolutely
to
right.
know about that.
So this is exactly what I was saying. You have an opportunity to interact and communicate. I'm asking you all to talk. And the moment you're inhibited, and if you're shy, 10 years from now, you're going to complain that, oh my God, somebody else is moving up so much faster in the company. That's because they can communicate better. Okay? So if you look at Steve Jobs, he's not a computer science guy, or he did not do anything on his own. He just imagined things, and he could communicate to his team, and then he could communicate to his investors, he could communicate to his customers. Okay, and and that communication skills is absolutely important. Okay, with that comes critical thinking, problem solving skills, and all those kind of things. So you mentioned investment. Don't worry about investment now. Go start your first 3 companies and fail. You must fail. You must fail. If you think you're going to, because if you're not ready to fail early on, you are going to make safe decisions in life. And there is nothing great in safe decisions. Okay, you must go for broke, saying I'm going to try things, and you have nothing to lose at this point. You may lose 2 years of startup, maybe you may lose some money. Think of it as your tuition fee, okay, for your education, for entrepreneurship. But if you do not do it now, this is the best time to fail and learn, because you have nothing to lose. I can tell you, when you're 40 years old with 2 children and all these kind of things, you do not have the freedom to even have this discussion. Okay, so first thing is, don't overanalyze. If you think there is something interesting, first thing is, don't. Entrepreneur is not a risk taker. An entrepreneur is a risk manager. So if you have an idea, you don't sell your house and go invest in that idea. No, you take $100 and go test out, go to places and figure out, is this problem real? And you come back and say, you know what, I keep hearing that this problem is real, they need a solution. And then maybe you may spend $1,000 to go meet with people and understand what are all the current solutions, why are they not working, and such. Okay, and you come back and say, oh my God, the problem is real. There are multiple types of solutions that I've tried and nothing is working. Then you may spend $10,000 and create something and test it out to a few people, and they love it. And so now, each time what you're doing, you're managing your risk. You're not putting $1 million up front. You're putting $10, $50, small amount of money, and you're building your chances of success. That is risk management. Okay, so don't think that somebody else is going to come and invest in you just because you had an idea. If you can come to the point where you have failed 3 times, I will put money in you, because I know that you have learned the basics. If you came with a great idea and if you say, this is the first time I'm doing it, I won't even touch you, because you haven't even started to learn to walk. And I'm not going to put any money on somebody who's learning. Go try it now. Fail. And be accepting of the failures.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else? Wow. Okay. So can we have contact numbers? Okay. I think I'll give you my email address. So okay. And so I think looks like any other questions? Last minute.
Yeah, I'd
So,
like to add something.
Sure, sir. Go ahead.
This is part of my Thanksgiving. Anyway, the next Anna is going to call me to thank you. So, as part of Thanksgiving, I will summarize certain important things which have been covered in the last 1 hour. It was really remarkable listening to Professor Rajesh Nair. And I don't know how many of you have gone through his resume, starting with BSc Physics degree from a small town in Kerala to what he is. That itself is a fascinating journey. That itself is a fascinating learning. What a small town boy or girl, incidentally in this case it is a boy or girl, can do with the right determination, with the right effort, with the right focus, as has been covered in the journey on entrepreneurship now. I think any one of you can make it as big as Rajesh Nair. If you talk from basic qualification, I tell you, not only Rajesh Nair is a graduate in physics, start from there and see where he has entered. It is remarkable. I will elaborate that what he was talking about. It is very fascinating for me, even at 71. I tell you certain things. Ramadurai, TCS, second CEO of TCS, his basic degree is BSc Physics from Stephenson College, Delhi. And Infosys founder, another Keralite like Rajesh Nair. Infosys founder, his basic degree is BSc Physics and is in Kerala. And his post-graduation is also physics only in Kerala. I think in Kollam or somewhere he studied 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚 college. I don't remember now. He studied in Kerala. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, I don't know how many of you, first one thing you should please, if anybody who has not gone through resume of Professor Rajesh Nair, I wish you go through, because there is a learning in that. Going through his resume is definitely a learning. And second thing, when you talk about entrepreneurship, I think listening to people like Rajesh Nair on entrepreneurship is more important. I tell you the reason. It's more important listening to some middle guy from, even I was in TCS, I was in ISRO, even a middle guy from TCS or ISRO or Google or Meta or any other organization, listening to them, compared to that, listening to an entrepreneur like Rajesh Nair is important in the sense, this issue is not covered anywhere else. What you learn listening to a Google person can learn from other sources also. They are doing a remarkable job, I don't deny that. But what you can learn from Rajesh Nair, that is not available everywhere. It is available. See, for example, Tata's, Rajesh Nair will be knowing, Tata's is promoting entrepreneurship in this country. Tata is one of the greatest entrepreneurs this country has ever found. And they have a program called First Dot, DOT, First Dot, that is essentially to initiate young students who have this entrepreneurship mindset, what Rajesh was talking about, to promote them, to give them support, to give the hand holding, all those things. I don't know the full details of that. You can refer to, I can also give you the link. Once what happened, as a TCS leader in Kerala, one of the First Dot program that for the people who won the prize, I have to distribute the prize, and also I have to speak something on entrepreneurship. And I never had any entrepreneurship experience in my life. It was in ISRO, it was in TCS, all well-established organization, right? The learning what happens in entrepreneurship journey is very different, that you will not get. So to prepare myself, I went through a program in University of Maryland, because thanks to Coursera, all those things, little thing I picked up. And I had closely interacted with people like Ramadurai and people like Shibulal. Shibulal is a close friend. People like Shibulal. And I don't know how many of you have gone through an interesting life story. Shibulal and his wife Kumari Shibulal, they have written right from a young student days to his entrepreneurship life. Shibulal has covered. Similarly, Ramadurai has covered in his story on TCS story. And similarly, Narayana Murthy, he has also covered, right? See, all big organizations like CTS, Cognizant, or Infosys, everything started as a small company. They would have failed a lot of times. They have failed, like Rajesh Nair, and then finally they succeeded. So entrepreneurship is a very important topic, and I was never an entrepreneur. And as an advisor to academic students and teachers, it was necessary for me to complete my space. So I had to pick up something on entrepreneurship, and listening to Rajesh Nair was really personally very satisfying for me. Thank you, Rajesh Nair. That's one thing.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And second thing, I don't know how many of you get, I get excited continuously when Rajesh Nair was talking about, when he talked about radio as a young boy. I don't know how many of you get excited. I do get, of course, I am 7, 8 years older than him. I also started, incidentally, I also started as a physics graduate only. When he talked about radio, I immediately remembered a brilliant piece of work by Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman is one of the greatest physicists. I don't know how many of you have read. See, you should read a lot of such things, such fascinating stories. Surely you must be joking. Feynman is a popular one you should have read.
Yeah.
And the one which I am referring to, perfectly reasonable deviation from beaten track. Perfectly reasonable deviation from beaten track. A collection of letters of Richard Feynman compiled by his daughter after his death. That in one of the anecdotes he is talking about exactly same thing. As a 11-year-old boy, it was really moving for me when Rajesh Nair was talking about his radio experience. Richard Feynman talking about his learning from that radio experience. And very same, he took the radio, a repair radio, took to the radio shop wala, and that interaction with the radio shop wala, what was a learning for him? Exactly, very, very same story.
Oh, wow.
It is as if I'm listening to Richard Feynman. That's what I was.
Okay.
When Rajesh Nair was talking. And then Rajesh Nair, I want to give an information to you that you will be really excited with that short question. IEEE Kerala section does promote a lot of STEM activities in young school kids to promote, of course, unlike United States, in China and India, the number of people going for engineering is relatively higher. Right? Number of people going for STEM is relatively higher. Of course, failure rate is that you have given nice statistics, which I cannot dispute. I agree with those statistics, but at least number-wise it is there. Since our volume is very large, the number is good enough for American universities to survive.
Yes.
From students from China and India. And this one I am referring to when you talk about innovation to school kids, really amazing, sir. I tell you, there is one young faculty in Amrita University, Coimbatore. I unfortunately, her husband is going through some challenges. Possibly she is not. Gayatri, are you attending? Possibly Gayatri is not attending. And Gayatri, last year or earlier year, she proposed a program. Normally in IEEE, we will always review things before it is accepted. She proposed innovation for primary school kids. She gave a proposal, like exactly like what you were talking about. And obviously, there were a lot of internal questions. I will not elaborate that. For that, what Gayatri reacted, I really loved that. You will also love. She said, "Sir, is it possible to take innovation to school kids like that?" That's a question, right? For that, she said, "Sir, they don't know yet what is not possible."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just they don't know what is not possible. They don't have any mind blocks to even to to go beyond. Because last week I ran a 2-day program in Parashala in a small school for 7th graders. Okay, seventh graders, they end of second day they made Arduino 3D printed parts and they had to make a presentation, movie, all these kind of things in 2 days. So I think yes, they can do this. Anyone can do this. As you grow older, you start to think that no, I cannot do things. And that is where I feel that college students start to think that way. School students don't. Yeah.
Your effort on that across the globe is really very impressive. I will ask Gayatri to connect with you offline through mails and other modes. Possibly that will be very useful for her interacting with you. And finally, on system thinking, I was also one of the promoters of system thinking because most of our sufferings are because of lack of system thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't realize systems are interconnected, parts are interconnected. And 𝐿𝐶 was one of the person who very strongly promoted systems thinking in TCS. And in fact, TCS, as you know, TCS, as Professor Damodaran also knows, TCS has been supporting academia in a large scale. In fact, I was heading their academic interface program. And we have taken system thinking to many institutes like Anna University, Jadavpur University, many universities across the country. to an extent what is possible. And within the academic system, whatever constraint they have, they did implement some of them. But system thing is very critical. For example, Mullai Periyar issue between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, or Kaveri issue between Tamil Nadu, I will talk politics. Kaveri issue between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, a good system thinker will solve the problem instantaneously. There is no issue at all. And lack of system thinking will definitely lead to all the heartburn from either side.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to say. It was really exciting for me, and I am sure that kids are also very benefited because entrepreneurship is really amazing area where one can get into. People who have only caution I will give: you must have sufficient waiting time, waiting capacity. You must have some initial support system at family circle also as an youngster. Definitely entrepreneurship is a great area.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
I see currently, as I said, I'm working on building these ecosystems, and I'm working with universities to build ecosystems within there, and even townships. So I'm working in Peru, in Malaysia, and places like that where they want to build a whole technology based workforce in 5 years. So they want to start from school kids and college students and start to create these ecosystems. And I can tell you, any college in Kerala can be transformed into one of the tops in the country if we implement certain programs in creating the ecosystem innovation program, which changes the academics and learning abilities and all these kind of things. So it'll be very interesting to talk to university or decision makers, management, to see how do we create these kind of programs, because students don't understand what is missing, but the management and the administrators will understand the value of this more, I presume.
Thank you, Rajesh. And we do have some academic connectivity people like me or Damodan, many other people here. Some of them are academicians here. Right. And IEEE is very strongly connected with academia across Kerala. Possibly Professor Lisa Babu, what Rajesh Nair was talking, possibly we can also explore how IEEE can collaborate, enabling him to reach out to our academic institute, and what way we can get involved. Of course, internally we can review that opportunities. I think what he is bringing in great opportunity for us. That is my input for you, Lisa Babu.
Okay. So, sir, I don't have your email address, so I just sent you a LinkedIn connection, so you can reply back.
Sure.
Pick up a discussion.
I will. Yeah, it was nice listening to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Whoever has identified him as a resources person, I thank them most. Yeah, more than thanking him.
Thanks to Sajin.
Sajin, okay, very good. Yeah.
Oh, Sajin is, of course, yeah. Okay, he's the one. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Okay. Excellent. Great.
Sajin was with me last week teaching in these schools. So
yeah.
So okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone.
So we have a virtual photograph session as well. So as we conclude, we have a few more. I think we have a vote of thanks as well. So I hope all the queries.
That's what I did.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
You did not get that.
Oh yes, I thought.
I don't mind repeating. Any number of times he deserves repeating. Yeah.
Okay, sir. However, I hope the queries from our participants have been answered. So thank you so much, sir, for an interesting hour of how we could start off this journey in entrepreneurship by starting off by overcoming our fears and recognizing our potentials to provide creative solutions to the problems that we face today. I now request Ashwin Wilson, webmaster of IEEE Education Society Kerala chapter, to please do the honors of capturing this memory for us through a virtual photograph. I request all of you to kindly turn on your cameras and give in your best smile for this photograph.
Okay, they're turning on the cameras finally.
Thank you. Sir, Vice Chair Bindu GR ഉണ്ട്. Bindu Madam ഉണ്ട്. Sir, Bindu പരിചയപ്പെട്ടിട്ടില്ല സാറുമായിട്ട്.
Okay. I am Bindu GR, Vice
Okay.
Chair.
Oh,
Vice
wonderful.
Chair.
Great to meet you.
Yeah. We are glad to have met you, and your talk was excellent. Actually, I was also in charge of innovation cell in College of Engineering Trivandrum as its dean, and so I know how much this this is the almost all the students are very much interested, and some of our alumni were taking up as they became mentors to our students, and then some of the startups have come up from that college too. So this is a time, actually appropriate time for having such a talk. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Anytime, if someone needs to help, I can, contact me. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Did the webmaster take the picture? Okay. Thank you so much. Yes.
You are clicking, please tell, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, a feedback form will be shared in the chat box, and a certificate will also be distributed based on the same. So I request all participants to kindly remember to fill it out.
Yeah.
As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present Professor Rajesh Nair with a virtual memento. I would like to invite Mohammed Sultan, content writer of IEEE Education Society Kerala chapter, to share the screen and present the virtual memento.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And Professor VKD, thank you so much for wonderful to see you here. I think he's gone. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I hope, Dr. 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚, sir, that the vote of thanks are already in order. And yes, and thank you so much, sir. And I thank everyone for attending the session this evening. With that, we conclude our session, and we hope you found it valuable and enjoyable. As I said, remember to complete the feedback form posted in the chat box to review your certificates. Thank you all for an active participation and for contributing to the success of this event. We look forward to welcoming you to our future sessions. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us, Rajesh, sir. Thank you.
And speak up, everyone. Okay, that's the only parting message I
Thank you,
have.
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.